Jan Boy's back, welcome back to the channel. This is episode 2 of the School of Tarkov series, and as promised we're going to jump straight into it where we left off, which is sort of our introduction to the series. This is going to be movement and shooting, so let's go. So the game's just spawned us in, and I'm going to have a look at an area of the game where I know that there's no scavs straight away, so we don't have to worry about sort of getting into combat with the AI straight away. The movement and escape from Tarkov is exactly how you'd expect in any other FPS game, although there will be a few notable differences. So first of all, you'll see that there's no real HUD. There is a little thing there in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, but other than that, there's no mini-map, there is no in-game map, there's no, notification of really anything. You really have to sort of figure everything out along the way for yourself. So we will move around here, W, A, S, and D as normal. In order to move around, and Tarkov also has a couple extra things as well. So for example, I can lean left and right with Q and E respectively, and I can also do the normal sort of duck, hitting the deck. We can go prone. Now we can also change the sort of degree that we do this. So for example, if I hold down control and mouse wheel down, my character will actually sort of change the sort of how much he's crouching. This is great for being behind cover because there is actually collision in Tarkov, and if you're too close to something, you will actually clip with your weapon and the gun will actually sort of pull back into his shoulder. So what you can do is actually just peek up over the top of something in order to get an angle. What this means for you is that there's far less of you visible. It's just sort of your head and shoulders that are visible. Instead of being here, which is obviously like torso up to your head, you're making a bigger target of yourself. One of the main things in Tarkov that will probably get you killed is sort of, being out of position, that sort of thing in a firefight. So these little things are really good to know, so you can kind of duck, move your way kind of around things in order to get the perfect angle on someone. The next thing is the lean. I just wanted to make a further note on that. So if, for example, we were engaging in a firefight with someone down here, the left-hand peak will never be as good as the right-hand peak, and I'll show you why. So because we're right-handed, we're holding the gun over on our right-hand side, we have to lean far less on this side in order to get the barrel around the corner so we can make a shot. We can also then stand directly behind this train while we're able here to get a view down towards the front and take a shot at anyone that was engaging with us. We're still behind cover. If we were to try and do that on the right hand side, we have to be further over in order to lean to be able to get the same sort of advantage on that side. And what that means is here, you'll see sort of my left leg is actually out from behind the train. We are actually sort of visible here. You have to expose far more of yourself if you want to peek on this side, making it, yourself more of a target. Do bear these things in mind when it comes to movement in Tarkov, because they are the differences between getting you sort of killed essentially in a firefight. Now, as well as being able to peek and lean, we can also blind fire in Tarkov. So if we're coming back over here, what we can do is we can actually hold Alt on the keyboard and press W, and we can actually aim over the top of this here, completely blind and fire. And we can also do it by holding down Alt and S and shooting around a corner to the left. Bear in mind again, because our character is right-handed, we're not able to do this on a corner that was facing right. It is only sort of a left-hand thing. Again, fantastic, and it does work to be able to sort of blind fire around doorways, that sort of thing, if you are in a firefight. We can also adjust our movement speed by pressing the caps lock button to quickly swap between the slowest and the quickest movement speed. You'll see the bar moving in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, as well as the amount of noise that they both make. We can also move the mouse wheel and just move that in increments if we wanted to. So you can move between the slowest and the quickest with your mouse wheel as well. Now, movement also takes a hit in Escape from Tarkov depending on how much stuff you're carrying. So right now we're only carrying 18 kilos, nearly 19 kilos worth of gear. And what that means is we're able to get up to a sprint relatively quickly. The sprint bar being that bottom green bar that you see in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. and we can sort of go from a standstill to a full sprint relatively quickly. The more weight that you're carrying down here, however, the more time it's going to take you to actually get up to that full sprint. Tarkov has something called inertia in it, which means the heavier you are, one, the louder you're going to be, the more noise you're going to make while moving around, the more stamina it's going to take, it will affect how far you can run, sprint, it will affect your jump height. All of these different things will be affected if you are carrying, a fat load of loot on you and you're trying to sort of move around in a raid. And one of the things that people will do when they do get into a firefight in this situation and you are, sort of very, very heavily overweight, one of the things you can do is double tap Z on the keyboard and you can quickly ditch your backpack, which will then allow you, if it is full of gear, to move around much more quickly, and be able to sort of sprint off and, be able to get angles on people and all of those sorts of things. To pick things up again in Escape from Tarkov, it's very, very simple. You just press F on the item, or you can mouse wheel down to the search if you just wanted to look what was inside it, for example. So now onto the spicy part, the good bits. We're going to now get onto shooting in Escape from Tarkov. So now we're on to the good bits, we're on to the nice spicy things, we're on to the shooting. Shooting in Escape from Tarkov is unlike anything that I've really played before. Now, the first thing that you'll possibly notice is that there's no crosshair, there's no indication of anything really on screen, and you have to figure all of this out for yourself. Now, the way that we aim, obviously, the usual right click and iron sight, so do bear in mind that hip fire in Escape from Tarkov is far more effective than other games that I've played. There's no real penalty for it like there is in other games of like severe accuracy, and all of those sorts of things. It's an absolute fantastic way of getting kills in Tarkov, and it saves you time if you're in close quarters. You don't have to shoulder the weapon, bring it up slowly, engage. You can just immediately start firing, which is great. So before we get to firing, we're going to learn some of the shortcuts. Alt and T is to check your magazine. So here, if we have a look at the AK, Alt and T, there, we're going to check the magazine. It will tell us in that bottom right corner that is full. It will also tell us the caliber and the ammo that we have in. You have a look here again. It will check the ammo, and away we go. Pressing Shift and T will check the barrel of the weapon to make sure that there is actually a round chambered. And then pressing L on the weapon inspects it. The reason that this is important in EFT is because your guns can actually malfunction. So right now, this is at 100% durability, and there's a very low chance of it malfunctioning on me. However, the more rounds I put through the weapon, if I'm full auto firing and the gun overheats, for example, it could malfunction. It might suffer a jam, or it might not eject a cartridge properly. And all these things you need to be aware of, because you will need to go through some of them steps that I just showed you how to identify what's wrong with a weapon. So if, for example, your gun malfunctions, there'll be a traffic light system in the bottom right corner of your screen, and you will see a little red flash pop up. If that red flash pops up, you will need to inspect the weapon with L, and then you will need to use that Shift and T in order to identify and fix what that problem is. So if your gun does malfunction, I'll put up a video here so you can see. Just be in mind that that's what you'll need to do. Most people will keybind these to other things in the settings, to something a little bit, easier. I have mine keybound onto my mouse, so I'm able to do it just from a couple of clicks on my mouse. It works far better for me. If your gun does jam, however, and you're unable to fire, the game does allow you to quick switch to a pistol as a tactical switch. If your gun does jam and you're in the middle of a firefight and you do have a sidearm, a pistol, you can quickly press 1 on the keyboard and pull out the pistol at a much quicker rate, but only if it malfunctions. So other than that, quite usually we would press R to reload, like so, and away you go. If we find ammo in the actual raid itself, we can also manually load magazines, like so. If we do find some extra ammo while we're running around and we want to sort of reload a magazine, we can do that. And the SKS, like I mentioned in the previous video, we can just have the loose ammo for that in our pocket so we're ready to shoot. So we have angered and upset some scavs that are over here in the gas station section. Before we engage, we're going to check the fire mode of the gun by pressing B on the keyboard. So now we swap over to full auto, single fire. You want to make sure that your gun is on the right fire mode. I've done it plenty of times where I'm trying to get into a firefight with someone. I think I'm on full auto and I'm actually on single fire and I get absolutely smashed because of it. It's well worth noting. Getting used to the way that each gun handles and all of them are really, really imperative because things do shoot differently depending on what attachments you've got on them and all these different variables. There's so much to go over. But for the basics, here's how you move around. Here's some tips, obviously, for sort of positioning and that sort of thing and leaning and, you know, cover and also the basics of shooting in the game. Just as I'm getting into this firefight, you can also hold Alt on the keyboard while you're aiming down the sights to hold your breath. Very, very handy to sort of steady your aim. And as you'll see in that bottom left-hand corner there, that blue bar is going down as I'm holding the weapon up and shouldering it. So as that blue bar goes down, he won't be able to hold this ready position completely still. His arm stamina will go down and it'll be a little bit more shaky. Just bear that in mind. It prevents you from just kind of holding an angle and sitting there all day. You have to be able to sort of come out of it and then go back into it if you need to. So now that we've fired a couple rounds, we will check the magazine. So we're nearly full, we're not yet halfway, we've still got plenty of ammo. We can now engage the next target. If you do have an attachment on the gun, like this has a laser pointer, you can press T and bring up that laser. Just bear in mind that other people can also see it as well, it's not just for you. It will give you just a little bit of help while you're coming in and clearing somewhere like this where, with certain weapons you may not have a lot of room to sort of maneuver with the barrel. Because with some weapons like this, for example, that do have a longer barrel, if we are trying to sort of move around a tight space like this, for example, the weapon will sort of clip with the wall. There is collision in Tarkov, so it does mean that shooting might be a little bit more difficult. So, something with a shorter barrel when we're indoors like this would do well. And obviously, just to save a little bit of time not looking down sight when I have this on. So there you have the basics of moving and the basics of the shooting mechanics in Escape from Tarkov. There are a lot of advanced things and too much really to go through for one particular video. For example, some optics have the ability to, change the sighting range. Some have, optics over the top of the other. So you have like a main optic and a reflex and, you can swap between them. There's all kinds of different things when it comes to Tarkov. But the best way to get in and learn for yourself is exactly how I just showed you. Go into an offline raid, have a bit of a play around yourself, get used to how the guns work, how the reloads work, can you have the ammo in your pockets versus in a rig, all these different things in order to sort of familiarize yourself with those mechanics a little bit. In the next one, we're going to talk healing specifically, which is going to be a nice sort of short video. And then from there, we're going to start learning some of the maps together, going through, trying to get some of the quests done, all of those things. Until the next time, I'll see you later, guys. Bye.